Hi, I'm Brian Lord, president of Premier Speakers Bureau here. Every Friday through the summer, we're doing our free Virtual Friday series to provide great content for you. During this unique time, you're also able to learn more about great speakers and see some virtual presentations. Today, we're excited to have on Daymond John as our guest for a virtual fireside chat. Daymond started a clothing company in his mother's basement and transformed it into a global fashion empire. It's amassed over $6 billion worldwide in retail sales to date. Daymond, of course, as most of you know, is the co-star of ABC TV's 4-time Emmy Award-winning series Shark Tank. He's been appointed a presidential ambassador of global entrepreneurship by the Obama administration, and he's the author of 2 New York Times best-selling authors, Rise and Grind in 2018 and The Power of Broke in 2016. Daymond's also known around the world as the People's Shark, and here at Premier, we've enjoyed booking Daymond for dozens of companies and organizations in nearly every industry, always to great success. So Daymond, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, for those who are watching, this is a fireside chat, so it's very conversational. We're able to take your questions. So definitely send those in here. So we have collected a few here in advance, Daymond. So if you're ready, we're ready to jump in with some of those questions.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's rock.
All right. So the first question here is from Jean Legat with Prime Lending. What is your daily routine during this challenging time?
Well, so my daily routine, my daily routine, probably about 15% of it has not changed. So as soon as I get up in the morning, let me step back. So I go to sleep at night. I go to sleep probably about 2 a.m. I try to get to bed about 12, and I read goals that I read every single night before I go to bed and every morning when I wake up. They're the same 10 goals that I read. 6 of them expire in 6 months. The other 4 expire in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. The reason I read them before I go to bed is because I want that to be the last thing that I'm thinking about when I go to bed. So my mind and my subconscious mind just dreams and thinks about those goals. And the reason I read them the first minute I wake up is because I want to take one action toward each one of those goals. So that's what I first do. And in the morning, I reflect for the first about an hour. It takes me about an hour to go through those goals. After that, I'll obviously eat and I'll do some kind of calisthenics or something to get my body pumping. And then I go towards my emails. I don't look at any Instagram or any social media platform because you get consumed looking at that. Then I go into my emails and I don't look at the emails themselves. I send out as many emails as I can. I look at my inbox as, defense and my outbox as offense. So I make sure I send out as many, because if you wake up in the morning and if you look on social media and you go answer your emails, all the emails are other people's problems. I never get an email saying, remember the problem we had yesterday? Well, it's resolved and I'm sending you $1 million. And if you look on Instagram, everybody's healthier and sexier than you are, and they're just as screwed up. So I try not to do that. Then after that, I have my day scheduled. I have my day scheduled per half an hour up until, probably about 5 o'clock. Skypes, calls, interviews, research time with my child, doing virtual learning. And then by 6 o'clock, I go out to some form of taking a walk, a jog, ride a bike, swim. And then I come back home right around 8, 9 o'clock and spend about an hour with my daughter, some quality time with her, put her to bed. And then I relax and either play Monopoly virtually with a bunch of my friends or play chess or something else, and then I go to bed around 12.
Okay. And out of curiosity, what are a couple of those goals? Are there any that you can share with us?
Yeah, the goals, listen, the 6 goals that I read, they range anywhere from health and spirituality to business to whatever cases. So I may have one that basically says, going back to shooting Shark Tank probably in September, and I would like to be at my best fighting weight. So I basically say, I will lose 20 pounds by here to September by trying to lose 2 pounds a week. And how will I do that? By reducing eating no meats, no fried foods, alkalining my body 2 times a day with a juice, not eating after 6 p.m. and drinking 8 glasses of water a day or 10 glasses of water a day and logging in 10,000 steps. And when you read the goals, though, it's not just I want to lose these pounds, because what are you going to do after you get to that goal? What's your why? Well, if I do that, I will be healthier, and I will make sure that I will extend my life to be around to walk my 3 girls down the aisle. And that's a bigger goal on top of the initial goal.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So next question is from Teresa Irwin with Express Employment. I know you know her
Oh, by
from.
the way, I gotta make one statement about that.
Yeah.
I never hit my goals.
Oh, okay.
My 6 months one. Why? Because I set them so big. But here's what I do: if the goal is here and I get to here, when I reset it, it's this big, and that's why I don't hit them, because I set them so high. So I will not lose 30 pounds by the time we get to Shark Tank, but maybe it'll be 18 and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So question from Therese here. From the innovation perspective, what do you think are some of the good things that will come from our experience with COVID-19?
It's hard to predict the future. It's kind of like, you make the future. What I think are some good things in general. I think that every single industry will be disrupted. I think that I call this time some of my new talks, or some of my new topics I've been talking on, as I call this time, COVID has created the rise of the machines, meaning that the machines are going to look this year like they would have looked in 2025 or 2030 because of COVID. And what do I mean rise of the machines? Well, we're on Zoom, obviously, and everybody's virtually working. People are not going to need office space for the same reasons they needed it before. They're not going to travel for the same reason they needed before. And so I'm predicting that's going to happen in the future. And in every industry. I mean, I was on TMZ today about schools. Schools are going to change the whole way of business right now. I mean, kids right now are deciding, do they even want to go to school this year or take a year off, right? So schools are going to have to step up their ability to teach, right? They're not going to profit too much more off the pre-recorded type of stuff. They're going to have to do live training, and they're not going to make as much money with people living on campus, because people are going to realize, I don't need to live in that area. However, they also can extend their education globally and faster and get more people in. So a lot of things are going to happen. So what I say about rise of the machines, you're going to have two types of people. Some industries will go away and some industries will flourish. And you're going to have two types. Some who are like John Connor, trying to always fight the Terminator, and some who are like George Jetson, who's going to ride that machine all day long and have a great time. So the future is bright, but again, what I predict are all those things. A lot of virtual stuff is going to happen, and we're gonna enjoy the quality of life with all these new industries that are going to be, or new products and services that are going to come out of this within another 2 years.
Mm-hmm. All right. So next question here from Mia Landrin. My question: in the current environment, many people have to reinvent themselves. What are some actions you can recommend to help them create a new personal brand?
Yeah, you need to know your why, though, that you're going to reinvent yourself. And I love, even when we speak, can you put yourself in 2 to 5 words? How are people really defining you, when you walk in the room or when you get onto a Zoom? And are you being very honest with yourself? What are the 2 to 5 words that describe you? Apple think different, Nike just do it, Google Force bias, White Castle what you crave. So how are you doing that? And how are you using that, putting it up here on social media or these ways that you're communicating, because everybody's watching you here first. Also, people going to be needing to be more technically proficient. People who thought that, the internet and social media was just some place to look at stupid videos and laugh, and people are going to realize that that's where they find funding. That's where they're going to find opportunities and jobs. People are also going to have to reinvent themselves by collaborating with other people and or entities to find out how to use best of both resources. So a lot of people are going to have to reinvent themselves, and they're going to have to know what's their why. When you communicate with people, what is your voice? How do you find your voice? Well, you put down a couple of categories. What do I love in life? What do I hate in life? What was a fond memory of when I was a child? What always amazed me? Who amazes me? What pisses me off that I need to be vocal about? And you find your voice as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And also, again, just to remind people, you can post questions on Q&A, and we've got some more great ones here too. And Daymond, thank you for sharing that. For Justin Mills, out of all the companies that you've invested in, what characteristics sets the successful companies apart?
It's always been the leader of the company are people who are constantly learning. They're constantly educating themselves. They educate themselves on the industry. They educate themselves on the people they're hiring, and they fail a lot, but they fail small, but they try a lot. And those are probably the ones, and they're not egotistical as much as you would think. They are open-minded, and they're always moving forward. And that's the real true entrepreneur. They act, they learn, and then they repeat. And that's what I feel. And nothing stops them. They just keep going, and they keep trying to figure it out. And even if they don't figure out when they fail, they know they left everything on the table, or they know where they went wrong, and they don't make that same mistake in the new company or in the new direction of new things that they're doing.
How much time do you spend working on existing business versus developing a strategy to take advantage of new opportunities that will come from this new normal business environment?
I think that's an excellent question. Right now, because we're fairly new into what I think is a 2-year process, I am spending probably about 80% of the time working on existing business because, don't go out and try to find something new if you haven't been adjusting what you currently have, right? Kind of like the bird in the hand against two in the bush. And, there's only 2 ways to run business, right? You either increase sales or reduce costs. So right now I'm finding the ways to reduce costs. And then there's only 3 ways to ever deal with a customer. You acquire a new one, upsell a current one, or make one buy more frequently. So acquiring a new one is 25% harder. It's 2 times harder than upselling a current one or making one buy more frequently. So right now we home in on our inventory and say, how can I upsell a current one or make one buy more frequently? After we get past all that of reducing costs and then upselling other customers or making them buy more frequently, then we go out and look for new opportunity.
This one is from Daniel Champagne. I read Rise and Grind back in January. In light of the recent economic, social, et cetera, changes, have you rethought your GRIND acronym, looking at how this environment will change the future of business?
First of all, thank you, Daniel, and I love the name Daniel Champagne. I wish I had that one. I hope that's on your birth certificate. If not, it's going to be on my next child's birth certificate. But and thank you for reading Rise and Grind. No, I haven't changed what it is. I think that the fundamentals of the grind is always going to be the same. We're just going to be doing it on different platforms in different ways. But no, not at all. I think it's more needed now than ever before. You only have 24 hours in the day, and some people these days are taking, where we're at today and thinking of it like a Saturday, and they're doing Taco Tuesdays on Fridays. Other people are putting their heads in the sand thinking this thing is going to go away or everything's going to go back to normal. And some people are scared to death while the other ones are getting their grind on. I am busier now than ever before. Busier now. And I can't say that, it's necessarily compensating me the same way, but it's compensating me in other ways, spiritually, love with my family, health, as well as knowledge of where businesses are going. And the grind is still the same.
So the next question here from Rahul Bayaj. Daymond, hope you're well. Thank you for speaking today. What's the top piece of advice you're giving to your CEOs right now during these challenging times?
Take inventory. First of all, some CEOs are making a lot of hard decisions right now. Some with high touch clientele, spas and gyms and things of that nature. And first of all, they have to, as I was saying before, take inventory. And what's inventory? Who's in your Rolodex and contacts? How many staff members you have? How much cash and debt do you have on hand? And then you have to then see where can you collaborate with inventory. We were talking to a group of hotel owners, and we were sharing with them, listen, your staff right now is nowhere near where it used to be. And we just realized that people like Hyatt are now outsourcing their staff to CVS and Walgreens and Walmart. Why? You got a highly trained staff who needs to work. You have another industry that is hiring right now. How are you collaborating, right? How are you keeping those people, even though you're furloughing those people are now being compensated, and they're not going to get poached, most likely, because they're going to come back to that industry. So take inventory of that Rolodex. And I'm telling CEOs, call people now. Call everybody that you know, and first of all, check on them, because most of my clients, we've called them some of the big clients, and we just checked on them, and they said, you know what? Nobody else has checked on us. Everybody thought of us as the check writer, and nobody has just seen personally how I'm doing. And they really appreciate that, because we are concerned about them. We care about them. And then also call people and see how you can collaborate. 2 months ago, you were calling clients and you may not wanted to call them because you couldn't get a hold of them. Maybe they were on a plane, train, or maybe they had other programs. They were too busy. Every one of your clients are home on the couch, arguing with their significant other with the remote control in their hand, getting bothered by their child, my executive producer, as they're broadcasting, and they are looking to do things, and they're like, "Thank God you called. What you got going on? Because damn, I need some help." So those are a couple of things we're doing.
By the way, I love the dress there. That's cool. I've got a 3-year-old daughter myself, and so I love the outfit there.
Thank you.
So next question from Jennifer Hamilton.
I'll be right back, baby.
Our conference center in Chicago has temporarily closed during this time. You mentioned the rise of the machines, but do you see our industry, the meeting venues, hotels, recovering fully from this, where there will still be a need for in-person meetings and events?
I do see it. It's going to be in various different ways. I mean, I think there's 2 different ways that history has shown the pandemics happen that I've read upon, because we've never dealt with a pandemic in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. There's one where it's technically and medically over, which, we can't see that for another year and a half, 2 years because of a vaccine. And there's one when society feels it's over and they need to get back to normalcy. And that we saw after only a month, people wanting to go out and start tongue kissing each other on the streets, right? So do I think it's going to come back? Yes. Do I think it will alter in some ways? Yes. Do I think that I'm not happy that Zuckerberg said he doesn't want people over 50 congregating for the next basically 14 months? And he's one of the thought leaders out in the market. He was the first person to say that it had nothing to do with sports or entertainment. I'm not happy about that, but I understand he's trying to save people. However, that being said, if companies like Twitter and Square and all these companies are going virtual, they're probably going to do, I think, more events. I think they're going to want to gather people together because they just have been seeing each other virtually for 6 months, 2 years, whatever. And I think there's going to be a need to do more things. So I look at it like that. Also, will the event spaces and those things take their event spaces to the people? I mean, we're already talking about an RV or a tour bus where I'm going to venues and I'm going to parking lots where you have the staff outside and it's other type of engagement. So it's going to alter in some different ways, but I do think that there is a massive amount of opportunity out there that's going to arise on this.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Gamal Kareem asks, at Barnum, our CEO just puts employee well-being above all else. Your people are your greatest assets. How do you set yourself apart from other CEOs?
I don't think I set myself apart from other CEOs. I think that there are other Listen, there's no one way to run a company. I think there are other CEOs that I truly, truly admire, and I think there's other CEOs that I wish they would have made different decisions. For me, I closed up my office, and I'm in the hotbed, obviously, in New York City, and I don't want my staff to come to work, physically have to go to work for the next year to 2 years, because no matter how much disinfecting and things and procedures that I put in place, if they get COVID on the subway and they go home and they take it to themselves, they pass, I would never be able to live with myself because of the couple of dollars we made that day against somebody else losing a life. So I put my staff first, and I think all people should, because they are the ones that work so hard for you. I call myself Batman in the office, and everybody else is Robin, but most of the time I'm Robin and they're Batman, because I hire smarter people than me, and there's no reason for me to hire them if they're not smarter, and I care about them. So I generally care about my employees, and I don't think I've met too many CEOs that really don't care about their employees. They generally care.
And I can say, from working with your team for pretty much a decade now, they're all great. So you definitely do a great job hiring.
Thank you, and do me a favor, don't say anything to them, because that minimum wage, you're gonna kill me if I gotta start paying them over minimum wage. So thank you.
This is from Justin Podlieski. What sectors or industries do you think might be in a better position to surprise as a George Jetson?
Well, let's look. I mean, so many different sectors are going to win. Let's look at the legal sector. I mean, they're going to be cleaning up this mess. The attorneys are going to be cleaning up this mess for the next 20 years. virtual assistants are going to be obviously doing really well. Of course, anything protecting people from disinfectants to shields to personal shields in offices and things of that nature. Garments and or things that have technology to it that can, indicate certain type of temperatures and things of that nature. Other devices, hearing devices and things of that nature who can take temperatures and technology in that form. Of course, anything that you walk through that can take your temperature and or there's going to be so many tests out in the market. Education is going to grow because people are going to realize, and I'm not talking about the big universities, but private schools and kids are going to be able to get that type of assistance. Daddy's working right now, baby. I'll be right with you. Okay, you're tired. That's fantastic. So there's a lot of those sectors that are going to really, really grow.
Mm-hmm. So next question here, by the way, for those tuning in, we obviously want to respect Daymond's half hour here. So we've got about 7 more minutes here, 6 or 7 more minutes here. So we'll get to as many questions as possible, but definitely keep sending them in here. This next one is from Nathan Sears. Daymond, thanks for speaking. What advice would you give to someone starting an online business during these times?
Well, starting an online business or a retail shop or any business is how do you build community, right? Where is your unique selling proposition? How do you build community? And we're not talking about a large community. How do you build a small enough community where you can have them be your ambassadors, but have them more importantly give you proof of concept and basically dissect whatever your product and technology is and learn to get the bugs out of everything at a very small stage. So then when you are ready to scale and grow it, you've already taken, all the bugs or as many of the bugs out of as possible. But of course, it's the first thing, like whether it's selling a t-shirt or whether it's lotion or whether it's technology, how do you get that small community first that is going to be your cheerleaders? Besides the obviously technical support reasons. I mean, the product is king, but I'm talking about after you've already had the product and started developing.
This one is from Marco Berna, a little bit off the business side.
Sure.
If a doctor said you only had 5 years left, what are your true inner dreams that you would like to accomplish?
5 years left, true inner dreams that I would like to accomplish would be give more of my time to charity and or things such as trying to stop human trafficking and take illegal guns off the streets that are murdering people and try to break the medical system where everybody can hopefully be able to feed their families as well as stay healthy. Choke Kevin O'Leary to death. Trying to think of some other things. Save
that one goes without saying, yeah.
Yeah, save as many animals as I could, and of course, make sure that my little 3-year-old is somebody who is better and stronger than me as she's growing older. And walk my other 2 girls down the aisle. Yeah.
Yes. So, of all of your business ventures, which one was the most fulfilling and why?
I think Bombas Socks was the most fulfilling that I had worked with. It's the #1 brand in Shark Tank history. But more importantly, they came on the show and they were selling socks. And I was saying to myself, at that time, I already have 10 clothing companies and 8 of them are dead. The last thing I need is socks. And when I invested in them, it was a symbiotic relationship. They taught me how to use the machines and taught me how to sell direct to customers. But more importantly, they showed me how today's consumer, instead of giving at the end of the year, giving at the office, a consumer wants to brag at the end of the year and say, I gave 300 times. Every single time I bought this, I helped clean up the ocean. Every single time I bought this, called Bombas Socks, I helped give to the homeless who have a challenge of, caring for their feet. So I think that they educated me. So not only did I get a great reward financially, but I think I got an even better education.
What advice would you give out for the class of 2020 graduates?
Ooh, class of 2020 graduates. How can you reverse mentor all the people that are in trouble, the ones who are not savvy enough to realize how much they needed to understand technology and consumers and converting on social media platforms, and how do you go out? And I always tell kids this, and a lot of the parents are really not that excited when I say this, and some are excited. How do you spend? I mean, it is a clean white slate right now, and there are going to be a lot of opportunities. In 2008, 2009, companies such as Uber and Pinterest and Square, and Venmo were created. How do you source all the people that you know and come up with that new technology? How will you also go out and get a job where you can reverse mentor people who didn't know they needed to have a digital native such as you? And also, how do you do whatever you want to do for the next 10 years? Because up until for 20 years of your life, you were somebody's child, and hopefully you're going to live to 100 years old. And you know what you're going to be in a while? You're going to be somebody's husband or wife, then parent, then grandparent. And if you live for 100 years, can you take 10 years to find your why and just do you, so that you will be happier for the rest of your life? So you have to combine all those things.
So this question is from Sherry Maynor. Our main revenue streams are memberships and events, areas that will be severely impacted. Any suggestions on how to reinvent? Technology can only bring in so much revenue.
Very true. I think I touched on it a little bit, and I can't say that I have the answer to membership and events, but the membership, how do you oversupply for the members? And that is a question that she's only going to know because she knows her business 10 times better than me. I'll give you an example. I was consulting somebody who owns a large chain of gyms and fitness places, and they said, we have members and we have events, and now I can't do any of that. And I'm not going to say that this is easily transitioned to her company, but what we decided is they didn't want to lose their membership fee, so they sent all their machines over to their members, and they didn't rent them. They said, that's part of your memberships. And then they brought a bunch of cameras into their facilities, and their teachers now do independent classes, kind of like what Peloton does. They also hooked up with 2 or 3 food service companies and said, you guys are not food service, retail stores, and said, you guys are not having heavy foot traffic. Can you pass on to my members a 30% discount for, becoming, getting food delivery from you, and give me 5% of that. They also went to retailers and said, our members are all healthy. They want clothing. And you have a bunch of clothing you can't sell. Please pass on 30% discount to them. And what did that do for everybody? The stores got to move inventory. The members felt that they got a discount, and the gym owners, they ended up retaining a lot of their members and keeping their businesses open. I'm not saying you can necessarily do that in the event space you're doing, but just think of some of those things, and hopefully they'll give you some ideas.
All right. So last question here. We're at our half hour here. This question is from Sarah Chamberlain. Do you think Mark Cuban wants to be president?
I do. He's getting extremely slim. He's skinny. He's wearing suits. I mean, the first 8 years of Shark Tank, we would have to go into his dressing room and hold him down to put on a suit. He's making a lot of public statements, which, first of all, Mark is, I'm going to just tell you a quick story. When we were on Shark Tank in the first year or two, people were like, who are these people? Nobody knows these people. And Mark Burnett never wanted to put on just big celebrities, because the consumer, the viewer would say that person is a singer. That person never going to go off and actually help run the business. And all the other well-known business people didn't want to come on. And Mark Cuban said, I'll come on the show if it's really going to help the future generation. And then only because Mark came on the show, and then he was able to go on to Jimmy Kimmel and all the other talk shows and advertise the show. And it was only because of Mark Cuban that Shark Tank stayed, because we were going to get canceled for the first 2 years in a row. So he always has felt that he had a responsibility to the public and to people. And I just think that I think he's going to run, and hopefully it's going to be in 4 years, but maybe 8.
Sounds good. Well, Daymond, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to share these stories and your wisdom, and to help out people just like you were saying that you've always wanted to do.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody is staying healthy and safe, and wishing everybody a great Memorial Day. And thank you for all that I have spoken for in the past, and hopefully will work with in the future. And I just wish you and your families all the best.
Thank you. And this is something, as you mentioned, you've been doing this for a lot of companies, this virtual fireside chat. And I know it's something that's great to help a lot of them. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. For those of you who are watching next week for our free virtual Friday, Sarah Ross will be speaking May 29th at noon Eastern on how to build emotional vitality and lead through uncertainty. You can go to premierspeakers.com/free to register, or contact the agent who invited you today. And thank you again for joining us for Premier's Free Virtual Friday.